Welcome everybody to another video of Vinyl Addict. This is Chili, and on this day in rock 2016, April 21st, we did lose Prince. And this is the 7-year anniversary of his death, and I'm going to share with you my 10 favorite masterpiece albums that he has created. And before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so with that out of the way, with his 40 plus albums and just narrowing it down to 10, it'll probably change any other day, every other day you ask me but his 10 greatest albums, I think the top 5 will always kind of stay the same, but I mean, it changes, it fluctuates. So today, for the 7-year anniversary, let's start with this, number 10, Artificial Age, which came out 2014. Now, this is an electro-funk kind of sci-fi concept album, and he put this out the same day he put out Plectrum Electrum, which was a album he did with Third Eye Girl as his backup band, and it was a 4-piece rock album. And then he had this album out at the same time. It was released on the same day in 2014. I like this album more. It was just back to him being in the studio and doing some weird kind of stuff. And the rock album, I mean, that was really cool. But we've heard him making albums and songs like that in the past, so that was really nothing new. Of course, with the addition with Third Eye Girl, yes, that's pretty cool, but this is the album that kind of I was waiting for, because he wasn't really putting anything out. He's only been putting out songs on the internet here and there, and so when this dropped, it was really cool. And he had the new look with the afro and whatnot. So number 10, Artificial Age. Now number 9, going to 1986, we got Parade, and this was a soundtrack to his movie Under the Cherry Moon, which was a black and white kind of comedy type of thing that he did with Tricky. The guy who played Tricky was, from the time, of course, Jerome Benton. And this is a kind of like the Revolution and Prince getting more into a jazz type kind of outfit. He was doing the Madhouse jazz fusion albums with Eric Leeds, and so this is kind of like the more commercial stuff for the movie, and for the, just for him putting out an album that year that followed Around the World in a Day. I thought this was a real masterpiece of an album. It was just from beginning to end, there's all kinds of different things that are explored here. Songs that I like were Girls and Boys, New Position, Side 1 was just fantastic. And of course this has the hit Kiss on here. But don't forget Another Lover Hole in Your Head, and Sometimes It Snows in April. So that's Parade, coming at number 9. Now, number 8, we go to 1995, and we have The Gold Experience. Now, this is him releasing an album under the symbol as the artist, and this had some successful songs, some hit singles, The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, of course, and this was a very kind of odd time for Prince, and going by the symbol, fighting, his label, Warner Brothers, and, he managed to put this out, and there were some rock songs on here, like Endorphin Machine, Shh, which was really cool, and, of course, the song Gold, which is great, which ends the album, and it's, from beginning to end, of course, there's some really great songs on here that it kind of explores funk rock as well. And one of my other favorites is 319. So check this one out. That's number 8. That's Gold. Now coming in at number 7 is Lotus Flower. Now this came out in 2009 and it was only released in Target. This is how he was kind of finding different ways of putting out his music. And a digital format came out first on March 24th, 2009. Then March 29th, you could get this on his website, or it was lotusflower.com at the time. And you can get a t-shirt and this and that. And so it also comes along with MPLS Sound, but it's still under Lotus Flower. And it is a psych rock album. And it's also considered acid rock. And you know, there's some weird things going on there from the Lotus. Boom. He does a cover of Crimson and Clover. And he kind of goes into Wild Thing, the Jimi Hendrix way at the same time. You know, and Dreamer is sort of like a voodoo child type of thing. So, yeah, there's all kinds of acid rock tones on this album. And it's not the one everyone talks about, but I love this album a lot, and this is number 7. Now, number 6, I guess this would be like the perfect pop album that Prince ever made. I mean, you got pop songs like Take Me With You, which is a perfect song. Of course, everyone knows this whole album from beginning to end. Of course, I Would Die For You is a perfect song as well. I mean, this is kind of like, I always kind of look at it like his Rubber Soul. It's just like this perfect album, you know, that where every song is, I think, strategically picked, you know, just to really break on through to the mainstream. And he did that with this movie, with the soundtrack, with the tour, everything. Purple Rain, number 6. Now, my top 5, these are kind of always the same for the most part. And this is Prince doing the Batman soundtrack. I always love this album. This is actually him, you know, inspired by a film, or you know, something that was created where he's putting his input in, and it was really interesting how he, you know, took pieces from the movie and kind of interpreted it and kind of threw it in there, which later on lots of people would do, you know, and people like, you know, Ministry and other bands like that would kind of like sample dialogue into the songs and whatnot. And so he was kind of doing that a long time, you know, earlier in '89. So this album has great songs like Party Man, Electric Chair, Lemon Crush is my favorite, and Bat Dance, of course. So Batman soundtrack, number 5. Now, number 4, this is an album which is pretty much not really talked about, but when they do talk about it, is the Jehovah's Witness album. You know, when Prince returned as Prince, he got his name, he's no longer the symbol, and he put this album out, this double album, and it was a concept album, and it was like really hardcore jazz, and kind of just some Zappa kind of stuff going on in here. And again, not many singles. I think he had one kind of jazz, would be playing on jazz radio stations, and that was She Loves Me For Me. But for the most part, there was some funky stuff on here, like 1 + 1 + 1 is 3, which is one of his greatest songs. I felt like greatest funk songs. Digital Garden, this whole album, it doesn't really just tell you to convert to Jehovah's Witness kind of album. It's not one of those type of albums, but it just happens to be at a time when he was going through that in his life. And so this is the stuff he was putting out. I saw the tour along with it, the One Night Alone tour. Great. And then he would come back and do a more commercial kind of playing all the hits again, and musicology tour and whatnot. But this was, again, one of those personal albums when Prince gets really personal and just kind of does what he wants to do. It's really a creative genius what you're listening to, and it's just kind of like inviting you to listen to something that is not easily digestible for the masses. And you know, you really have to really appreciate music in order to take in some of the stuff and directions where he's going. And Rainbow Children, of course, is no doubt one of those albums. So that is my number 4 masterpiece. And so number 3, I think this is his third masterpiece, right? And well, his second masterpiece, but we'll get to the last two. But 1999, of course, was a double album. When making a double album at the time was a big deal, and he just had a lot of material, and he was kind of making his own sound at this time while taking in like synthesizers, new wave music, and punk and all that kind of stuff. And just this is 1982, mind you, and it's still holds up today. And of course you had the song 1999, Little Red Corvette, DMSR, that was on like the Risky Business soundtrack. This was a year where Prince pretty much broke through and was on MTV, and it was kind of like the calm before the storm, though, because the next year would be, of course, the next 2 years he would have Purple Rain out, and that was it, And so this was still him kind of in the arenas and, becoming a household name, but he's not, a superstar, So 1999, and this album cover is really cool. It was made by Vanity, drew by Vanity. Vanity came up with this, and you turn it upside down. Of course, it says "and the Revolution," so it's Prince and the Revolution. So, but he was pretty much putting them together at that point. Now, this next album, number 2, I would have to say is his first masterpiece, and it's a concept album, and it's his third album. It was 1980's Dirty Mind. It's just perfect in every way, raw, and there's, it's just, to me, a real rock and roll album, where this is just kind of not really setting out there to offend. However, it's just, there's a lot of rebellion in here, and there's a lot of just, of course, great showmanship and great songs. And, some of it, like songs like Party Up is kind of political in a sense, but then there's just like songs on here in a dark and somewhat comical look towards the underbelly of sex, whether it's Uptown, Head, Sister, all these songs, whether it's about, like Sister, that's about incest, but perfect song on here, of course, is When You Were Mine, and which was covered by Cyndi Lauper, and it's just, to me, I think his first perfect song he ever wrote. And of course, Dirty Mind was a song that he wrote about Vanity, which he played on that last tour on the piano when she passed away. It was really kind of heartwarming to hear him play that song and give us a little insight where that came from. And it all came from this Dirty Mind, and this is the time when he was opening up for Rick James and blowing him away, I think. So Prince, Dirty Mind, number 2, and that leads us to number 1, and I think this is the masterpiece of all masterpiece albums, and it is Sign of the Times in 1987. This is the one after leaving the Revolution, or getting rid of the Revolution, and it's just him again in the studio, and he had like 3 different albums that he was coming up with. He had the Camille Sessions, he had the Crystal Ball, and this is something that came out of that, and he's kind of like putting all these albums together, Rebirth of the Flesh, which is something that he had, or the Dream Factory with Wendy and Lisa. And so a lot of these songs are kind of like taken from here and there, and from Sign of the Times, Playing in the Sunshine, Housequake, which is a great song, that's from the Camille Sessions, the Ballad of Dorothy Parker. Every song on here, it's all kind of different genres, and it was sort of like, it's been compared to, as Lenny Kravitz would say, this is like his White Album, or like every artist that has, or band that has a creative peak album that double album, like Songs in the Key of Life from Stevie Wonder, Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, This Is It, Prince's Sign of the Times. And I think the only song that I really did not really care for was this song with Sheena Easton, You Got the Look. I mean, I think it's cool when he plays it by himself live, but I just always thought that, her in the song was kind of, it didn't, for me, that part didn't age well. But I mean, it's not something I would skip. I could play this whole album from beginning to end, and it still doesn't take it away from my number one spot. So there it is, Sign of the Time. So we have number 10, Artificial Age. Number 9, Parade. Number 8, Gold. Number 7, Lotus Flower. Number 6, Purple Rain. Number 5, Batman soundtrack. Number 4, The Rainbow Children. Number 3, of course, was 1999. Number 2 is Dirty Mind. And number 1, Sign of the Times. So that is my top 10. What is yours? Do you think some of these are not kind of placed right? Of course, everyone's going to have their own, opinion on this, but however, I'm just looking at it, and as far as his creative side goes, I always kind of like it when he is just, it's like a solo album. It's just Prince, or not Prince and the Revolution, or Prince and the NPG, or Prince and Third Eye Girl. It's really these albums that I pick mainly, other than, Purple Rain or Parade, they're mainly just Prince albums, and those are the ones that I really like the most. So leave me a comment again, and with that, I'll shut up, and I'll see you guys on the next video. And with that, see ya.